Well, as I continue to work with groups of CEOs every single week across the nation, what keeps coming up over and over is how many of these leaders are operating up in the stress zone, and they get there habitually, so that they're actually in the overlap of stress and autopilot. They're there habitually over an extended period of time, and what happens is for most of us, when we're up in the stress zone, we start to hyper-focus, and we typically hyper-focus on what another person is or isn't doing. And of course, that's completely counter to what's effective for us, because the more that we hyper-focus on the other person who we don't control, then we're getting further away from our ability and our personal power to change the situation.
That's cool, because that same thing also works or happens not just on a professional work front. It also happens on the home front, or with friends, or in clubs or teams that we're on. Same thing shows up all the time.
Yeah, for sure. In fact, when we're going through the personal contribution process in that workshop, some of the leaders are choosing to focus on situations on the home front. Like they're habitually going home at the end of the day, and then they're stressed, and they're hyper focusing on what their children are or are not doing, and then again they're getting further away from their part of the equation, which is where they have all the power.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, because one of the things that we said and we encourage people to remember is where your power is and where your control is, which is how people are supporting themselves, how they're using their control, their self-control in a healthy way to make sure that they are determining and deciding how to show up, how to interact in a situation. And it ties in really tightly with where you started, which is awesome, with people showing up in stress zone and an autopilot. Yeah.
Well, and when we're, of course, the other piece of it is making sure that we're supporting people not in how to get themselves out of stress, really supporting them in learning when are they trending towards stress, when are they going in the direction of where they don't want to be, and then how do we, because when we catch it earlier, which is why we encourage the practice of the 2-word check-in, when we catch it earlier, then we've got more creative control to do something healthy about it.
So let's talk a little more about that, because that's something that's key for people to focus on. So if you're in a situation, again, work or home, and you're thinking, oh gosh, I recognize this pattern. So the first thing for folks to do is to recognize the pattern. So if you realize you don't feel good, or you realize, oh golly, I got that meeting with Bill, and I don't like the meetings with Bill, like check in with what's happening. What's the pattern that you're seeing again and again and again? Yeah. What would you add to that?
Well, and so again, what's usually new for so many leaders that we work with is to stop ignoring how you feel. So like really, truly, honestly check in with how you feel, because your emotions have information. That in and of itself is going to give you important information when you check in, so that you can get yourself out of unaware, which is where we are when we're down in autopilot. Get yourself out of unaware, and then now you're going to be able to, once you move yourself up into aware and into your personal performance zone, now you're going to be able to see things much more clearly, even start to break it apart, so that you can go ahead.
Well, this ties in so well with one of the things that we both say is so many times to leaders, which is so often people get focused on what they don't want, and they hyper-focus there, and that can contribute to people going into stress and then flipping back and forth from stress to autopilot. And then people don't shift into, okay, I don't want this stinks. And then they don't shift their attention to, well, what do I want? What does good look like? What would that, if that meeting with Bill or whatever else it is went well, how would that be, and how would I want it to be different? How would I want to show up, and how would I want others to show up? So part of it is identifying what you do want, and then also speaking up for that, being sure to start to ask for what you want. And it's not just about you, it's also about what you recognize about, hey, if this meeting is is repetitive, or we keep going down rabbit holes and we don't get to our key things. Define that cost for others, and be sure to speak up for yourself and for the team and for the productivity that you're wanting to have for the business.
Well, and when you're doing that, what works remarkably well is when you first express your own ownership in how you were unintentionally or accidentally contributing to that waste of time meeting or to the this cycle of frustration. So when you first identify, all right, what's been my piece, even if it's accidental, what's been my piece in it, and then own up to that, and then make a request or communicate an
Great
expectation for the other person or the other people.
Yeah, and I like that the ownership piece, and it could be even, hey, I'm sorry I haven't said anything earlier. I'm sorry I've helped us go down rabbit holes, or I'm sorry I haven't helped us stay on track, or I haven't said something before now, and I'm wanting to say something now so that I can change my part and we can all have a different outcome together.
Yeah, the only fine tuning I would offer is don't say I'm sorry. Just rather it's, I realize like I've been frustrated because we keep wasting our time in the weekly meeting, and I realize, well, I hadn't even spoken up. So now I'm going to start doing my part of it differently.
Yeah.
And then you can make your request or communicate your expectation for how other people do their part differently. We gain a tremendous amount of credibility when we first own our part, rather than, again, continuing to hyper-focus on others and what they're doing or not doing.
Yeah. So if we were to wrap this up, some key things to everyone is to pay attention, and Cathy hit the nail on the head with pay attention to your feelings. One of the things that we like to say is that your emotions are a primal navigation system, and they help you recognize what's happening. So don't ignore those. If you're feeling something, there's information inside of there, and you can unpack it in a really healthy, meaningful, and productive way. So it's not just I'm pissed. You get to use that in a good way when you start to ask yourself, well, how come I'm pissed and what's been happening? So don't ignore your emotions. Recognize your part, own up to your part, and then describe for others how you want to do something different, how something different can be more productive for them and the team. What would you add?
That's it. That's a good place to start. That's a solid place to start, so that you're not continuing to be in that overlap of stress and autopilot. Sometimes we will start to think that that's normal, and it's not. You're completely capable of getting yourself back into your performance zone where you're feeling more satisfied. You come home at the end of the day and you're happy and you've got some energy for the kids. You can
for yourself.
Yeah, and for yourself. Let's make sure that starts to become the normal for you. Yeah.
So play with that. If you like this video, please give this a thumbs up. You can subscribe right here on our YouTube channel. You can also go to wingspanperformance.com, and right on our homepage, you'll see at the very bottom, if you haven't signed up yet, there's a sign-up sheet where you can get our weekly email. So not only will you get videos like this, you'll also get all of our written blogs. So there's a ton of fantastic blogs. What do we have, over 100?
Yeah, that's because you've been doing a fantastic job of creating them. I've just been hanging out and...
So not true. So also, please let us know in the comment section for this, what other questions you've got for us. We're going to start doing more of this this two-person chat, and we're willing to hit whatever topics you guys want to toss out there. So have fun with this. I hope this was helpful, and have a great day. See ya.